Hello everyone, this is Ben Lister here. How are you all doing this fine evening? Here is episode 6 of the BL and Friends podcast. More coming up next week with Ian Collins from Talk Radio and Invictus, so yeah. But now here's my interview with TX1's vet and RB1 presenter John McDonald. I really hope you enjoy it. We chat about his career here on YouTube, so yeah, that's all coming up. And yeah, I'll be uploading the pod for interview later on tonight when I get a chance. So yeah, that's all to come. And much more. I'll be doing the voiceover stuff later on. I had a bit of a mare earlier on, but I'm fine now. So yeah, here is my interview with TX1 and RB1's very own John McDonald here on YouTube. Hello everyone, welcome to the Ben Lister and Friends podcast, here for episode 6 today. Welcome along to this series. In this series, I talk to my closest friends about their topics and hobbies and hobbies and in their workplace and about their workplace. And this week's guest is broadcaster John McDonald. Hello John, welcome along.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me. I don't think I've ever actually been called broadcaster to my face before. That's quite a novelty to me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. How are you today?
Yep, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Yourself?
I'm fine. You're talking with the broadcaster who's done about 90 of these.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
90 this year.
Do you know something? I've never been on a podcast before. This is a first for me.
Have you listened to any of my previous form ones?
I have, yes. I heard Sean Goldsmith, Stewart Nicholson, Stephanie Hurst. There were one or two others as well. I can't quite remember.
Brilliant. You should give the Neil Fox and Martin Kellner ones listens as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I will do. Certainly.
Yeah, give them a listen. Give Martin Kellner a listen. He'll appreciate that because he's a good lad, Mr. Kellner.
Yeah.
And I've even had Larry and Paul as well.
Right.
And loads of other people, but enough about them. We're talking about you today and your broadcast career, if that's okay with you.
Not a problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. You ready to rumble in the jungle?
I am. Let's do this.
Okay, let's go. That's good. Let's go for it. Question 1. Where did you start your broadcast career?
Well, I started at hospital radio where many other radio presenters started, because it's there that you learn the basics of doing a radio show. You know, you learned. It's where I learned to drive a radio desk, and really, although they look quite fancy, they all kind of work the same. And I'm still there now. I'm doing a show. Obviously, the day that we're recording this is a Thursday. On a Thursday night, I do a show still there at the hospital radio. And then from there, I managed to get a little bit of work at Hallam FM, nothing presenting, just working on the production on their sports show. And I progressed to one or two other things there as well. I've done little bits at Radio Sheffield. When I say little bits, I mean, little bits, nothing again on air, just production work. And it sort of went from there. I did a show on Sign FM, which is a community station in Doncaster. And that's how I managed to get into working for the Links FM group and ultimately, being on Dern FM.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's brilliant, yeah, and wow, what a start to your career. And now you're obviously at the ones.
The one, yes, I'm on TX1, which goes out over Doncaster and Bassetlaw every weekday evening. The times sort of they're slightly different on some days, but I do the evening show on TX1, and then I'm on in the morning on RB1, which goes out over Rotherham, South Yorkshire, and I do that between 10 and 1 on a Saturday. Both shows I absolutely love and adore.
And the rest, and you still you've still got your bosses, obviously, the legendary Stewart Niclson.
Stewart Niclson and Warren Miller, yes, two blokes who I am extremely grateful to for giving me a chance to root back into radio once things at Dern FM, unfortunately came to a close. But as the old saying goes, when God closes a door, he opens a window somewhere.
I have met Stewart, but I've never met Warren.
Warren is a very nice bloke. I encourage you to meet him.
Is he a presenter?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he does daytimes on TX1. And he
I'll
does
try
the
and
retro
track
chart
him
at the
down.
weekend as well.
I'll
Absolutely.
try and track him down. Yeah, as I say, there's a lot of presenters who are great out there.
Oh, very much so, especially at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of presenters that are in work. There's even more presenters that are out of work. So I consider myself extremely lucky.
We have to congratulate some of our friends, some of our broadcast mutual friends on their achievements on new programs announcements over the last couple of days.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, well, go for it.
Yeah, we'll say well done to them. Well done to all of you who have got new shows coming out over the weekend and coming weeks. And I hope it all goes well for you.
Yes, definitely.
That's done. And yourself, obviously, do you pre-record the evening show at all?
Has to be done that way. Yes, unfortunately we don't have the studios just at the moment. So it's all done from this very spot that I'm sat in. I would call it while it's in the state it's in, I'd call it my home studio. But in honesty, I have a microphone that is clamped to a movable set of shelves that my laptop is sat on. So I'm just in the bedroom. That's what it is. It's no home studio. It's just the bedroom.
Are you hoping to get back in the studio soon?
Yeah, very much hopeful. Yeah. I know that the people higher up than me at TX1 and RB1 are working on it, and I'm sure it'll come when the time's right. I'm sure it'll come.
Let's hope TX and RB1 are all in the same building.
Definitely.
Opposite studios.
Yeah, where we can wave to each other through the window.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was on Dern FM, Stewart Niclson used to be on Trax FM on a Saturday afternoon at the same time. And in their old building, they had the big wide window between the two studios. And all he'd ever do is try and put me off while I was doing a link. He'd dance at the window or whatever. So me and Stewart, we're more friends than we are boss and employee. But, when we have to be boss and employee, we have to be boss and employee.
I bet you can't wait to be back in them studios having the guests in.
It'll be good. Looking forward to being back in the studio.
I have actually promised Stewart Niclson an interview for him with Bruno Brooks.
Have you? Oh, he'll be all over that. He'll love that.
Yeah, hopefully. So if ever you see Bruno, when you get studios, and if ever you see Bruno Brooks in there,
yeah,
I bet you'll be nervous to walk in.
Possibly.
Who knows?
Who knows? I like being in a radio studio, though. Even though I know how they work, I just like being in a radio studio. I know it sounds really corny, but it's true. It's they're nice places to be. Well, if you have an interest in radio like you and I do.
Our studio, we have a teddy bear and a mixer desk.
Wonderful.
And a television.
And a television, always necessary.
With the clock on.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Does it have is it one of those that's got the seconds that go round in a circle? As the dots go. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe that I did an hour show once.
An hour-long show?
Because I just started talking and I didn't really stop.
Well, that's a good. If you want to be on the radio, that's a decent thing to be able to do. To be fair,
I want to go in. Be one of the first autistic people actually to be on a commercial radio.
Yeah. Well, keep pushing. I've heard other people say to you on this podcast, keep going, and I'm sure you'll make it happen.
Sean Goldsmith was, as he said in his podcast, has autism as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you listen to that.
Yes. I can't remember whether I heard all of it or not, but I certainly heard the start. But yes, I know he's probably will have told you that.
Yeah, which is brilliant, which it may become on one of my autism shows soon.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, as I said, there's a lot of good radio stations out there like you with TX and RB1.
Yeah.
I nearly said YO1, but
nothing wrong with YO1 at all.
Because they used to be all in the same group.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. They're not together anymore. But much respect to YO1. They've got some new city centre studios. In fact, they call it the Live Lounge. Which, they look marvelous. I'll have to go, and next time I'm in York, I'll have to go and have a walk by.
Yeah, because at least you've still got the owner of YO1, Mr. Marsden, on your station.
Yes, we do indeed. Yeah, definitely.
Which is brilliant. Yeah, you have a lot of good talent on there.
Yes.
I've even interviewed the TX1 Weekend Breakfast Show presenter.
Leighton.
Yeah.
Leighton's great.
Yeah,
I like Leighton.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Question 2. Who are your inspirations in broadcasting starting out?
Well, I'll be honest with you. One of my inspirations, one of my biggest inspirations when I started, because originally I wanted to be a sports journalist. Sheffield United, who are the team that I support, were having a really good season. I was listening to the sport a lot on the BBC on Radio Sheffield, and they had at the time a chap working for them called Paul Walker, who I heard a lot at the time, and I thought that it sounded that's how it started. Just started in my head. I thought, I bet it's quite a fun job, that commentating on a football match. But over time, I realised that I only really know about football and not a great deal else about much else. So I decided that maybe just general radio presenting was where it's at. And there's been numerous different influences for me over the years. One big influence for me is a chap called Matt Foister. I don't know if you're aware of Matt Foister, but he used to do the drive show on Hallam FM many years ago. And I worked alongside him when I did those little bits of, I say alongside him, literally we were in the next door studio to each other. And then, so we got to know each other well there. And then he ended up working at the Links FM group, where I was working for Dern FM. So it was good to reconnect with him there. But for me, there's been many different influences over the years. I mean, I've always enjoyed Scott Mills on Radio 1. I've always enjoyed Chris Moyles. So I think I generally, when I'm listening to the radio, can take different pieces of different people and think, I like what they do there, I like what they do there, I like what they do there, and try different things out myself. In the end, I've just turned out as me, but certainly Matt Foister, certainly a big influence. Paul Walker was very early on for me, and Chris Moyles, Scott Mills, just quite a lot. To answer the question shortly, there's quite a lot of influences for me.
Anyone who you work with that influenced your career?
Well, again, Matt Foister, I saw him a lot and I heard him a lot. But like I say, it's a difficult one to answer because for me, there's many influences, and I very often listen to colleagues and thought, I like what they do there. That sounds good, and I like what they do there, and try different bits out myself, and that's how the influences have affected me over the years.
Brilliant. We'll move on to question 3. What is your favourite part about the job?
Do you know, I think my favourite part Other than, when you're in a studio and you're being a geek and you've got all the buttons and faders and everything and all the screens, I love a good studio. I think one of the favorite parts for me, and this sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true, is that when you press play on a song or when a song comes on that is on in your show, you know that someone somewhere who is listening will go, "Oh, I love that song. I really like that song," or it'll be someone's favorite song. And it's good how you can connect to people as well. I mean, I have, there's a couple of regular listeners that message me on social media every now and then who listen to TX1 Radio, and it's nice to connect, with them through radio. It's good, but I think my favorite part is, when you listen to the radio and maybe a commercial break finishes, the station jingle plays and a song hits, and that moment right there when that song hits, if it's a song that you absolutely love, it's a special moment.
Are you, as I say, yeah, that's brilliant. And one of my favourite ones is just sitting in the studio with the headphones on.
Yeah.
And just being at one.
And for me, the more like the Starship Enterprise the radio studio is, the happier I am.
Yeah. And you have your music there with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Question 4 now. Moving on. This isn't for £1 million, by the way.
All right. Okay. Are you sure about that? Can you not give me £1 million, please? That'd be very, very helpful.
Yeah. I think so. How has curvid affected your life and line of work? Question 4.
Well, you see, I have my day job and I have the radio that I do outside of work. I think probably the biggest factor was that both the day job and the radio shows that I did, all of them stopped being in an office, stopped being in a studio, and they were at home. So probably the biggest effect with regards to work would be certainly learning how to do a radio show from home, because I never in a million years thought that I'd be doing something like that. I thought my time was over when it first came about, but I thought to myself, no, go buy, because I didn't have a microphone, you see. So I thought, go and buy yourself a microphone and make it work. And that's what I did. And to be fair, at the old place we used Myriad. That was easy enough to sort out and record. And we use something called Playout One now at RB and TX1. So working from home has probably been the big. I'm looking that I've not had this virus, and none of my my wife or children have had this virus. We managed to steer clear of it. So I think certainly when we were in the thick of the pandemic, working from home was the biggest change for us. But it makes you think now, doesn't it? I mean, when the world opened up a few weeks ago, me and my wife had a bit of a date night out together, and we went somewhere where there were a lot of people singing and dancing, and it just made you think, how closely packed in you were back then. You didn't give it a thought. Now you go out, and if you're closely packed in, you think, "Ooh, this could be quite scary, really." But no, certainly working at home, I think, is the biggest change that came around for me.
Brilliant. And we'll go on to the final question now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to young aspiring broadcasters who are starting out? Keep this short because I don't want to keep you too long.
Right. Okay. It's a difficult industry to get into. I know that because it took me 11 years, and that was before there was a lot of networking. So I think you need experience. It's that old chestnut. A lot of people say it, but experience. Like I say, I started at hospital radio. Hospital radio is absolutely marvelous to go and get experience and get to know people. sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. I got a lucky break when I was starting out in my career. James Marriott, who gave me my first show, I had a connection to him. I had already met him as well, and he'd introduced me. Interviewed me for a job that was filled from within in the end. But I was able to, when I was doing my show at Sign FM, send him bits, and he helped me out. And so I think really it's all about getting a bit of experience, and hospital radio is absolutely marvelous for that.
Brilliant, yeah. And that's brilliant. You started at hospital radio and community
and I'm still
radios.
there. Yeah, I'm still at hospital radio now. I'm going there. I've got a show there this evening.
Have you got a show on one of the ones this week, today at all?
I'm on TX1 radio, this evening. Yes, yeah.
Is that pre-recorded?
It is, just due to the lack of a studio. It's a pre-recorded show, but it still has all the same amount of work going into it as a live one would.
Any Phil Collins?
Do you know? I think Susudio might be on there tonight. I know it's scheduled. I can't remember if it was tonight or tomorrow night, but there's definitely some Phil Collins in there at some point.
Get a bit of Easy Lover on.
Good song. Excellent song.
First time you're in the studio, I give you a bet. Put that song on and see how many listeners you get.
I will. If the boss allows me to stick that on, definitely I will do that without a shadow of a doubt.
Excellent. That's it for today. Right, that's it for today here on the BL and Friends podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, John.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very, very grateful. I'm flattered to have been asked to come on.
Do join me again for another BLM podcast, for BL and Friends podcast very soon. But for now, please give it up for the legendary broadcaster, John McDonald. Thank you very much for listening and watching. This will be available on my website, wix.com, and it may be available for the blind people in an audio-visual thing for the YouTube audio on wix.com as well, and it'll be available on my YouTube channel. I'll put links on my social media later on. But for now, thank you very much for listening and watching, and that's a wrap. That was my interview with John McDonald. Really hope you enjoyed it. More coming soon. My next upload will be with Radio's very own Paul Woodford and Lee Barber. Then we're coming up for the Ben Lister Podcast Radio Show and the Chatbox Podcast respectively. A few more announcements to be made later on down the line, so stay tuned and keep your ears and legs to the ground as usual. So that's it from me. Please like, subscribe and comment on this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's filled your satisfaction. But enjoy. BL out. And that's a wrap.